This is ProACT Sam from Living and Working Abroad. Welcome to this vlog, and we're looking today at the idea that no deal for EU Brexit could bring certainty for expats. Expats are concerned about their business, they're concerned about their residency abroad, their property, their movement rights, social insurance and medical issues. And we want to get these some certainty to that, as does business, as does contractors living and working abroad. And if you've got a residency that's as an expat, EU expat in the UK or UK expat in Cyprus, then you want certainty. And the current situation where there's a proposed withdrawal treaty that the EU can agree on, but nobody in the UK can agree on, where political and business interests, vested interests, are manipulating the situation for their own petty gain, then we're in a situation where we're prolonging uncertainty. Now, the situation as I see it at the moment means that if we carry on with the agreement without acceptance broadly in the UK and go into a transition period where the EU are then going to start negotiating all over again for an agreement, and if we then come to December 20, we haven't agreed it, we then get into a situation where we've got another period of uncertainty, an extension of that transition period, and we could end up with a situation where for another 2, 3, 4 years business and expats living and working abroad are uncertain about what the future is, about what's important to those expats with their new life, their residency, their family's education, their business taxation and the business certainty. The solutions are clear if there is a no deal. If we look at the customs situation, currently Rotterdam is one of the biggest container ports in the world for bringing goods in and out of the EU. They only check 2% of goods that come into the EU through Rotterdam from non-EU countries. So while we're given these horror stories in the UK to say that there's going to be queues and customs are all going to come to a stop, that's assuming that 100% of custom checks are undertaken and they each take 10 minutes. And yet, when we look at the way the world is working today, it's very clear that in Rotterdam, 2% of the goods from outside the EU are checked. The rest are summarily checked. Sure, they go through a customs post, just like an individual will go through a passport check, but it's only 2% are checked in detail. So, the doomsday scenarios of a no deal possibly aren't there. If the powers that be would accept that there's no deal today, then the EU and the UK have got political bickering has to stop. They've got no choice other than then start making arrangements based upon the certainty of no deal. And then they could put in place the residency, the social insurance agreements, the medical agreements, the contingencies for travel, for overseas property, and business would know, do they need to open an EU branch? So if a UK business opens a branch in Cyprus, they have full rights to trade throughout the EU. This sort of cross-border trading goes on around the world. 93% of trade in the UK, 93% of trade in the world is outside the EU, so there's plenty of business to be done. The World Trade Organization has their rules. The UK could have no deal and say, we're going to operate under these world trade rules, or they could say, well, we're going to operate the EU rules and use that goodwill gesture, that unilateral declaration to operate EU rules to allow the EU to make their agreements. So it could be that no deal will bring the certainty for expats that the EU expats living and working in the UK can look at what the UK have proposed, and if the UK unilaterally state that they're going to adopt the Withdrawal Treaty without signing it, and then start making the deals one by one, they will make those deals within the transition period. There won't be a big bang on the 29th of March. They can start making them now. They've got 3 days to do that. There will be change, there will be disruption, but just like the millennium bug for computers, it has all be a lot of hot air about not very much. Governments, business, families and individuals need to get on and start planning now. We know what the world's like without, for any business outside the EU trading with the UK or Cyprus or any other EU country. Expats can adopt this position, assuming that there's a no deal, and then look forward to the future changes as they come. So this is our feeling at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air, and let's hope that the political powers that be stop the bickering and take decisive action one way or another, so that expats living and working abroad can find out and move forward. If you want to find out more about how expat family and business can protect themselves for Brexit, we've got a guide into how you'll be affected with your overseas property, business and pensions. You can download it at our website at ProACTPartnership.com, and we welcome your questions at our Facebook page at Living and Working Abroad. So follow our comments. We've got a group attached to the Living and Working Abroad page where you can get into discussions, and we'll help you and guide you with whatever your question is, and whatever way we can help you. Family and business, living and working abroad. This is ProACT Sam from ProACTPartnership.com. Speak to you next time.